If the city could take any action to combat climate change, not including the things we're already doing, which action would get the most dramatic results in cost savings or greenhouse gas reductions? And what will you as a city councilor do to encourage Quincy to take this action? 2 minutes or less.
So I think we're already starting as a city, as a community, to take some of those steps. As I have been on the council for a while, I see a huge push, again, towards more energy efficiency in public buildings and making sure that the word gets out, that there's communication to folks that this is something that the city cares about. You know, again, I talked about some of the flooding, supporting making sure that the seawalls are adequate, that we are spending money and repairing seawalls. As was stated earlier, again, it's very important that we recognize as a community, as I think most everyone does, that we have almost 27 miles of coastline, and that really those important infrastructure improvements in storm drainage, in the tide gates, particularly down in the Princess Eve Marsh area, down in the not just in Ward 1, but in Ward 5, along the beach, along Blacks Creek. There's a plan in place now to take a look at what kind of improvements we can make down there. I think that that's an enormous step in the right direction to ensuring that, that we are headed in the right direction. But again, realizing that we are a coastline city and working in the direction of making sure that we're doing as much as we can to make the seawalls as strong as they can be, to fix drainage issues, to fix things, to utilize what we can of the marsh, to use the tide gates, to fix the tide gates that need to be fixed, and to really make sure that we're doing all we can with that. The next thing would be moving to public buildings, which is an enormous part of our budget, not just public buildings that the city services occupy, but the schools, which takes up not only a great deal of our budget, but a great deal of our public buildings. Making sure that those buildings are LEED certified, are moving forward, but also making sure that we're moving in the right direction and continuing on with making them as energy efficient as possible. Thanks.
Hello. Okay, this is, in some ways, it's sort of a bit of a trick question, but really the issue is, it's somewhat like going on vacation. The first thing you do is decide to go on vacation. So really what this issue is the city has to make a big decision, which is to say, this is going to be a big goal for us. We're going to do this on purpose, and this is where we're going. And then the answer then becomes, it's not one single thing. It's everything. So in everything the city does, it realizes this is one of our primary goals. We're going to buy new cars. We're going to get electric vehicles. If we're going to build a new building, it's going to be spec'd out from the very beginning. It's going to be LEED certified. We're going to use geothermal for heating. We're going to have solar panels on the roof. We should probably look again at the issue of windmills. But everything has to be done with an eye towards the end game, which is to reduce greenhouse gases, climate change, and it's all up front. You decide, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it in everything we do. And that really is the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm not knocking you, but unfortunately, there should not be a windmill on Moon Island Road, just to let you know, because it's not where a windmill should go, and I want to make that clear as a Ward 6 councilor. That should not and cannot happen. My predecessor fought it. I know my predecessor, I remember the night I was here 2 years ago, he said he didn't believe in the science because his father was a scientist, and with all due respect, we disagreed that night. But what I want to really stress, though, when I took office, I've been working with the state delegation to help take cars off the road. One thing was the ferry. The ferry system needs to improve. It fixes many things. It'll fix traffic, but it'll help the environment. How? Less gas emissions, less cars on the road. That's what it really boils down to. We also need to improve our MBTA service that we have here, working with the state delegation. Again, LED lighting, which was mentioned, has been mentioned, been in deep conversation over, especially over the last few days before preparing for tonight. But talking with our state delegation, we're working on getting the LED lights on the state roads that's in Quincy, in all of Quincy, not only in Ward 6, but throughout Quincy. And that is really a very important thing. We talked about how long ago should have LED lights have come into Quincy. Well, I can only say that we have them. We, the council that's already in office, we voted on it, we supported it, and most of Ward 6 has it right now, and it's going throughout the whole city, going to be finished pretty soon. And but we got to get them on our state roads, so Quincy is 100% LED. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a moment ago, Mike started talking. I wasn't sure where he was going with it when he talked about the vacation and so forth, but now I'm getting it. So it goes back to leadership, and it has to start at the top. And it was mentioned before by Ann Mahoney. It has to start at the top, and then it trickles down. Because if you have a leader, and I'm not saying that we have a bad leader. Any leader that's in the front has to lead. So if we believe as a community that we should be more efficient, have sustainable initiatives for the citizens, that has to come from the top, and all the citizens have to believe that and have some incentives for that. So if someone is going to renovate their house, perhaps the city could have some type of a credit would say you return, or you're showing that you're going to put in new bathrooms. Well, they have a low volume water flushing system, and you get like a $50 credit for that, like they do down at Lowe's or a Home Depot when you turn in your appliance or you're buying a new appliance. If you're going to do some recycling with your trash, which is a wonderful thing, then let's have the incentive that they do more of it. You know, we have the MBTA here in Quincy, and I watch the buses go up and down Hancock Street, and I see the diesel fumes come out the back of them. And I wonder to myself, why is that bus diesel and not LPG? Why isn't that a natural gas bus? Some of the buses are natural gas, but a lot of them are still diesel. I mean, diesel buses went out with Nixon, for God's sakes. So I think that it comes down to some leadership, some initial forays into like, what do we do and what's it cost to say, have the initiative to make things more efficient. Because it's better for all of us, and it starts really with one person, and then it trickles right on down, and then we can all do it together. You know, if we all row together, the boat makes a lot of progress. That's all.
Just to touch on a few things that I think were mentioned during the large debate a few minutes ago. The electric vehicles, I know that they're voted in for the mayor and the administration to take a hard look at that. And it'd be a nice start with certain DPW cars and health services cars to make sure that we start at a low impact in regards to emergency vehicles and see how those work out. Hybrids haven't been mentioned at all. I think that's another good idea to try to work that into the system. I talked a little bit on the first question about building lights. And again, I go back and look at some of our schools where during the day you go down and visit a school and the lights are all on outside, and timers are old and they don't get looked at. And I'd really, get with the maintenance people and the custodial people and take a good hard look at some of the timers. Some nights Quincy High is lit up, like I said, all night long, and I don't know why it's not dimmed down. The seawall talk, Kirsten talked a little bit about that. I've been down and walked the seawall in Ward 1. I know that there's a project going on from the Willows up to Chickatawbit, but Babcock Street and the Manat Ave side, that side needs to be looked at too. And I know it's going to come down the road and we can't do everything at once. A big thing too that I think we should talk about too when we talk about things that we do that we're not doing now, we should also look to Braintree and Weymouth and regionalize, work together. I know we do some things in regards to buying supplies for the schools and other regional things with Braintree and Weymouth. But I think that would be a good route to work together also on new ideas that we can all jump in on and work together with. But it's those type of things, and I think you'll see the same answers rather from a lot of us, that we need to step it up. I think we're headed in the right direction. I said earlier, I know Mr. Murphy disagrees with me, but 10% with the LEDs coming down the road, 10% with the solar panels. I think we can work towards what we should be working towards is 100%, and just keep moving forward with a good effort and make sure we can afford what we're doing.
Thank you. It's my opinion that doing what we're doing is not going to get us to 100% renewable by 2050, which is what the Sierra Club recommends. And I'm not going to argue with the Sierra Club on this. I think they know more than we do about that. I mean, we up here. What I want to see is us looking into things like community choice energy, which is municipal aggregation. I think the city council could put this in front of the mayor this cycle, where we can buy our energy from renewable resources now. I went to the QCAN meeting. The guy from Mass Energy gave a presentation. We can switch to 100% renewables through our through our utility line now, and it won't cost much more. If it might even cost less. This is something that doesn't make people change too much, and it's a good introduction to the path to renewables. Other things we need to do is invest in infrastructure. We need to make the city more bikeable and more walkable. So every time we do a road project, we need to be thinking about how do we make this road more bikeable and walkable so that people can get around town other than their cars, which will hit a lot of targets with one arrow. We're going to lower our greenhouse gases. We're going to lessen congestion on our roads and in our parking lots, and we're going to have a healthier citizenry. And I think when you look at that, it just makes sense. Let's go forward with our infrastructure projects. Let's make this city traversable by those on bikes and walking, and especially for our seniors who are very concerned about walking as they get older, making sure that our roads are safe for them as well. Okay, thank you.